live, mate?
I live up in a place called Box Hill, mate. I don't know if you know where there is, out in the northwest.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
problem.
just past Rassel, Kellyville, that area.
Yeah, it's a fair hike from here. I'm in the Bankstown area, but
Yeah, 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 yeah. You've been there most of your life, or
yeah, I've lived in this house all my life, mate.
yeah,
Mum couldn't get rid of me, so I stayed here and bought it out. You know what? When you're ready, mate.
yeah, good, mate. Well, Paul, thanks, mate. Thanks for giving me your time. I know you're a busy man. Got a show coming up as well.
We've got one on the 12th of December. It's going to be an outdoor one.
Yeah.
I've got the option of doing it upstairs at the Bankstown Paintsway, but just going to do it outdoors so we can go around the COVID-19, regulations and what have you.
Oh, right. Yeah. Is that your first outdoor one?
Yeah, I've never ever wanted to go outdoors because of the weather, but this is fully covered. If it storms,
Mm,
you won't get. It's a Bankstown Markets,
mm,
so
mm, mm, mm.
I've got the option of going upstairs in a beautiful auditorium or doing it
Yeah.
downstairs where it's fully covered.
Mm. Well, mate, I guess we'll start with just tell me a little bit about the promotion, mate, how it came about, just I guess your influence and passion in boxing and how that all came about, mate. Just the origin story, I guess.
Uh, there's a couple of reasons why I got into boxing promotion. I've been an ex-boxer. I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been an amateur fighter and a professional fighter. And I never dreamt I'd become a promoter because when I was fighting, some of the decisions promoters made, and I thought, geez, they could have got that top, could have got me a title shot. So I never really liked promoters. Not many fighters do, but there's my old trainer would be rolling in his grave if he knew I was a promoter now, in a funny way. And it's such a takes such a it's such a it keeps your mind ticking away. I wasn't seeing my son at the time, and I really took up the promoting. There's another reason it took my mind off my son. When am I going to see him again? Will I ever see him again? And not that I forgot about him, but it made me just take my mind off him when I went to bed at night, figuring, God, when am I going to see him again? So it was
Mm,
like a medicine. Can you believe that? It was like a medicine to take my mind off when I was going to see my son again. Because once you put your foot forward and start promoting, you got to run with that ball the whole length of the field. You got
mm,
to match mate. You've got to promote it. You've got to make sure they get registered. You've got to be continually on the trainers' backs and that. They go, yeah, my fighters are registered. No, don't believe the fighter. They'll just say, yeah. They'll just say, yeah, just to say, yeah. So you gotta keep on top of the fighters as well, the trainers. And I actually get the fighters on Facebook and say, are you registered? And I say, just don't say yeah, because they don't realise their bloods and medicals expire every 6 months, and that 6 months, that just flies. And
mm,
last week, it's just one thing after another with promoting, but you got to love it to be in it, I suppose.
true. How did and when did you kind of start? When did Neutral Corner Promotions start? Like how long ago?
2008, I'm into my 11th year now.
Beautiful. Yeah. And what were some of the I mean, I'm sure any promoter, let alone yourself, would have had some hurdles and some challenges along the
Uh,
way. When you look back, what were some of the things that what were some of the real difficulties when you had to get it up off the ground to where it is now in its 11th year?
Mate, you just got to continually keep an eye on it 24/7. I'm actually in my 12th year at promoting, but I'll never
Yeah.
forget that first promotion. The first promotion I ever did after it was all over, I said, I'm never doing this again. I had five professional fights.
Yeah.
I had five professional fights and 6 amateurs locked in. And the day before the fight, I had one fight. The whole fight fell apart. The whole fight card just fell apart. And if that was in this day, I would have had to have cancelled the show. You've got to have your fight card in a week before the show. So I would have been buggered if the rules were back in then. So Combat Sports Authority, I've got to have that fight card 5 days in and out. And if you have any dropouts, it's too bad. You can't replace these fighters. It's a silly rule, but they're the rules, and we got to abide by them.
So what did you do at that time, mate? You just tried to you just got a hold of other fighters, other athletes, and try to pull them in last minute?
I just got on the phone. My phone just went off. It just stopped going. I made that many calls, and cut a long story short, I got the 5 pro fights back on. I got three pro fights, 5 amateurs, and what a night it was. But it was a nightmare the last week of it, and especially the day before it. I had no card. I'd sold all the tickets. It was going to be a sellout. I've only got 1 fight. You can imagine. I went grey overnight. I actually said, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'm never doing it again. And actually 2 years later, I'm still doing it. My mother said to me, I don't know what I'm doing this for. I went round my mother's place. I said, Mum, can I borrow your phone? My phone's just carked it. It's just stopped working. So I grabbed my mum's phone and put my SIM in it. She said, what are you doing with my phone? I need that. Mum, I'll give it back to you tomorrow. I need a phone. I put my SIM in it, and all the numbers didn't come up of the trainers.
Mm.
Oh, a nightmare. Anyway, mate, with a lot of phone calls, I got didn't even sleep the night before. It was a nightmare. Anyway, the crowd poured in the next night. The next morning, I was just thinking, you know what, it was worth it. All that hard work and all that dedication paid off in the end, and I recovered it. Every time I go to do a show now, my mum always says, remember what you said your first show in 2008? You're not doing it again. I said, you got to stop saying it. But yeah, that's what happened.
I guess it's the competitor in you, mate. Hey?
Yeah, it's a challenge, isn't
Yeah.
it?
A lot of people I've spoken to, even just a lot of my fighter friends, and we always, just have in-depth conversations about everything, including just, promotions and whatnot. There seems to be a lot of challenges and even just some real tough, from what I've been told, a lot of tough restrictions on promoters as well. Because one of the conversations we always have is how do we evolve, and how do we grow the sport, for it to for, I guess, not just locally but nationally, and and a lot of the conversations surround around some of the tough restrictions, or some of the challenges that promoters have to face, which is the rules now that are they got to kind of confide by. As a promoter yourself, going into your 12th year now, kind of what are your thoughts on how far we've come, and just some of the challenges and hurdles that you face in order to be able to not only just put on the fights, but I'm sure as a passionate, not only just as a boxer or a promoter, but a passionate person of the sport, you'd like it to get bigger and grow, even just, I guess, outside of the auditoriums, and get it bigger and bigger. So is there challenges, and what are some of the challenges and restrictions that you feel like that, could be a bit detrimental in terms of being able to let the sport grow a bit bigger than what it is?
Well, Neutral Corner's come a long way in the last 12 years. We really, the team's got bigger, but there is a lot of challenges. There always will be, and it all stems back from Davey Brown dying a few years ago in the ring at a fight night over at over Campbelltown way. It was sad, and we got resuscitation. We've got to have the full resuscitation kit in place, and now COVID-19, we've got to have COVID-19 plans from the club, from Neutral Corner, from the New South Wales Health. It's really only with the New South Wales Boxing. They've got to cover their backs as well. It's a government regulated job, and there's so many stipulations. They won't allow fighters with a criminal history to fight on a card. They want the card in 5 days before. They want all the names in, so that's why you've got to match 100 fights. So you only end up. I'm exaggerating. That's why you got to match so many fights, and you end up with a good card. You've got to cover yourself, because if the fights drop out due to injury, sickness, whatever, at least you're covered. You've got enough fights there, and that's what I do, and that's what I do good. Matching up good fights, even match fights, and I match up plenty of them. So people will say a week out or months out from the fight, how many fights have you got? And I say, just turn up on the night and I'll be able to tell you.
Yeah. In terms of the actual, I guess, promotion, in terms of just, is there is there challenges even on the financial side of things for say for promoters and for fighters, in terms of just even just getting pro athletes getting paid and getting obviously not getting substantial money, but like is those kind of restrictions there for promoters as well, in terms of just in order to run a show financially?
Oh yeah, financially is a challenge as well. You got to,
Yeah.
your homework and your sons first. Can I get this up and off the ground? Are the fighters going to bring a crowd? Are they going to sell tickets? And they generally do. They've got to sell tickets. I had to sell tickets back in the 90s when I fought, and that's just the way it is. In Australian boxing, it's no different to a Billy Joel concert. Billy Joel was coming out here 3 decades ago, and they cancelled his show at the entertainment centre because they didn't sell enough tickets. So therefore, they wouldn't have been able to pay him and his team, so they cancelled it. It's the same goes with the boxing. At the end of the day, they all bring a crowd, and if us promoters can stick together and keep putting on the good fight, more people will keep coming through the turnstiles and turning up the boxing.
Mm. How do you see boxing in general in Australia, mate? In just terms of in just terms of its growth, in terms of like its level of competition, and where do you think where do you think you could see it going in terms of its growth? Because obviously, I find that a lot of people, especially when they get to a certain level, as you may know, tend to go overseas and train, right? Especially in the US, and where the levels are, levels above. But I mean, you look at even just you look at, for example, you look at MMA, for example. There's high level quality in Australia. You don't need to go overseas. Even if you look at, you look at Israel Adesanya being the middleweight champion. He lives out in New Zealand and he trains out at Auckland, and so that high level competition, the high level training is there in MMA. I find that a lot of boxers do tend to go overseas and train. Um, I mean, obviously, boxing's such an old sport too. You know what I mean? It's such an old sport, right? So it's like it's been around for ages. But what are your thoughts on that, and how do you see that aspect growing, where you can just cultivate fighters here and be able to produce fighters at that high championship level?
Well, we've had George Kambosos. He's just won his title
Yeah,
eliminator.
just read up on. Yeah, just saw it. Yeah.
Fantastic news for George and his family and all
Mm.
his fans. Absolutely over the moon to see that kid go to the world title, and he will win it. Mark my word. And he's come up through Club Punch Bowl. George told me the other week before he left, he said, "I'll never forget where I come from." And he won his state title, Aussie title, and regional titles all on the Mutual Corner Show at Club Punch Bowl. And not just him, Bill Alakaway, he made his debut at Club Punch Bowl. Brock Jarvis, Dan Lewis, Lucas Brown, just to name a few. And we have got some good fighters, not just here in New South Wales. We've got some good fighters in Queensland. We've got some good fighters, and with these good fighters, yeah, they do have to go overseas to get their good sparring. And we've also got some great sparring here. We just all need to work together, and we're getting that way. But Australian boxing is going to grow bigger and bigger. We're starting to Timmy Vizoo's our pin-up boy at the moment. Knows this too. As a George years ago, you should be our pin-up boy, mate. But he wanted to go overseas and try over there. But boxing is good. You've got Tim Vizoo, you've got George Kambosos, Bill Alakaway when he comes back. You've got fighters up in Queensland, Liam Perro. Oh God, there's quite a few. I just can't. They're on the tip of the tongue. But boxing in Australia is in a good place at the moment. We just need to take fights. We need to clean up. A fighter needs to clean up their own backyard first. That's what George Kambosos did, and then go overseas and then fight the best. That's what we need to do.
In terms of, I know we had a brief chat offline when we got on the phone, but one of the hot topics that we were discussing was the the marketing side of it and the promoting side of it, and we just had a very brief chat about how we can help it, how boxing can grow in terms of just its reach as well. And one of the things that I brought up to you was, I always think what I would, what you would like to see someone, whether it's 45 minutes away, who's a pure fan, knowing about some of the events that are going on, and outside of just fighters, and outside of just fighters circles, and friends of promoters or people that know of the promotion. But there is a large group of people that are genuine fight fans, and sometimes just don't know where to go to watch quality fights, right? So um, what are your thoughts on that, and what do you think needs to be done in that aspect, where you know someone someone who's just, like I said, a pure fight fan, wants to go watch some quality fights. And like, one of the things you brought up, which was very interesting, was a lot of the guys that you named, was Comboses, Bilakaway, all these guys that came, that have come through, Club Punchbowl, right? And and have fought at your promotion. They've got to a certain level where, especially Team Zoo, for example, pure fight fans are like, oh, wow, like we got an Aussie fighter. Whereas sometimes it gets to that stage where they get to a national level, or where there's, obviously some big fights, and a lot of people may not have seen a lot of their fights from I guess from a grassroots level or from a local level. And a lot of places, by the time their local fighters get to that national level or international level, they know who they're watching. They know a lot about their history. So what are your thoughts on that aspect, in terms of whether there's difficulties, or whether you think that, a whole body of people need to work together in order to be able to have that grasp that reach, in terms of, people knowing about these events and promotions, and ultimately, possibly watching one of our future world champions coming through, like promotions like Neutral Corner Promotions and other promotions.
That's my job as a promoter, that promote a kid, and that's the beauty of social media today. You've got Instagram, you've got Facebook, you've got Twitter, and you can get it out there and promote anybody. Like, look at George Cambosis today. It's been all over the news in the lead up to it. Everyone knew about it, but as these local fights on the scene, you go on BoxRec on the internet, you put in BoxRec, and you can see what's happening around Australia. Now, people watch shows are in every state. They'll have a radio program every Saturday morning, and I'll do my best to promote every show I see. I actually go through and name every show that's coming from across the map of Australia. I do it every Saturday morning. I start off with the show, with plugging all the shows, and because I live stream across Australia on Radio 2, the ACR. I've been doing it for 4 years now, and I do my best to promote boxers. I'll go to my grave promoting boxing, because it's a great sport. And when these flyby promoters come along and think they're going to make a quid in 1 or 2 nights, they don't last. And the guys like these are the guys that are ruining the sport. They'll sell tables for 5,000. They're just right there. That's where they kill the sport. And then they get a little meat pie in a box. That kills the sport for blokes like me trying to put on a good show. Now, I did some shows at the Star City Casino, and I said, I'm the Johnny Lewis, and I said, please don't charge 5,000 for a table, otherwise I'm not doing this. So we just charged 3,000, and that's a fair price. And people will come back. They'll see a good fight. They'll see the price is right. They'll just see the price is right, and they'll just keep coming back. Sorry, mate.
No,
Before
right.
I turn that off, but we just like thing by the fans. Now, I've got a great show coming up on the 12th of December at the Bankstown Paceway. It's going to be a great event. I'm going to do 2 shows in the one day. I'm going to start off with amateur boxing. That'll start at 2 o'clock. I'll have about 20 bouts on. That'll finish at 5:30. Then we'll put the professionals on. And it's right here in the heart of Bankstown, the Bankstown Paceway. It's going to be an outdoors event that will cover if it storms. And I'm promoting that already. I've already got it in the local paper. It's all over Facebook. And every day up until that fight, I'll just keep doing something on Facebook. It's for free, and it's promoting his show. And I will pull a big crowd at that show because they know I put on good shows. It's as simple as that. The people around this Bankstown area, they supported me when I boxed all them years ago, and they continue to support me as a promoter. And that was decades ago, and the local paper still continues to support me because I'm a local boy and I put on good fights. You know, I'm the real deal. There you go. I'm the real deal when it comes to bloody boxing, mate. I will put you on. I'll put on a good fight, and people will come back and watch my fights again. And all the promoters are doing that now. Most of it. There's a couple out there that like the one-sided fights, got to build their fighters up, but that gets you nowhere. But you know, as for promoting, that's what I'll do. That's what I do, mate. That's my job. Just promote fights.
Social media,
free.
yeah.
Right.
Social media must have really changed the game for someone like yourself, right? In terms of just the reach as well now with being able to promote your fights and your fight nights and whatnot.
If you didn't have social media, you brought up that question, how do you get it out there to people? But it'd be very hard without the social media. You know, I've got one up in the local paper. And another thing I do, you're not going to believe this, I put posters up. There's no need to, but I go overboard. I go overboard with posters. I'll put posters up, probably 300, 400, 500. I've been known to put 1,000 posters up before a fight night. I'll go to the different areas where the fighters are, and I'll just start asking the shop front windows if I can put a poster up, and people stop and have a look. So I'll start doing that 2-3 weeks out. I'll go all around Concord Park, Bankstown, know my team, and we'll stick posters up everywhere. And people see posters, they see social media. They don't look so much in a local paper anymore, would you believe?
Yeah.
They don't paper, but every aspect I can promote. And if you have any ideas, please share. A promoter's always looking for a way to promote fighters, to promote his show, to get the crowd back in.
And tell me a little bit about how many shows do you roughly try to put on a year?
I do about 8 to 10 shows a year. I love promoting the amateurs. You know, well, there's a couple of promoters that promote amateurs. Now, amateurs are our tomorrow's pro fighters. You know, you've got to put these shows on. These amateur boys can get fights. You know, very important that amateurs get fights, so we can crop them and cream them for the time they turn pro and try and make it big.
Yeah, well, you got one of my boys fighting in December, Saeed, Musa Saeed. He's one of my good friends. I train with him, and he's my brother. So I'm gonna have him on the podcast soon, just before the fight night as well. Sorry, mate.
Is that Nasari?
Yeah.
Saeed Nasari. Okay, he's fighting against Freddie Murray, the New Guinean.
Yeah, the New Guinean. That's right. Yeah. So he's a good brother of mine, so I'm excited for him. I just spoke to him the other day and said, "Come hop on the podcast, and we can have a little preview for the fight night." So probably have him coming in a couple of weeks, and maybe hopefully through networking through you, I can get a lot more other fighters coming on just before fight nights, or and have a chat to them and help grow the sport, because I think that's another aspect of what we've had a chat about, was just being able to I wouldn't say so much analytic work, but just being able to kind of branch out and do other aspects that kind of combine and help push these fight nights even higher on a bigger platform, and that's getting to know the people that are taking part in those fight nights too, and getting a bit of an understanding and story of the people that are there, because a lot of these guys, like anybody, have amazing stories, and I feel like if people get to have an understanding of these people's stories, that's what draws humans in general in. It's just that emotional connection that, hey, I know that bloke's story. That story is very similar to my story, and and before you know it, there's a whole different understanding and a whole different pool of interest, because it's not just a face anymore. And see, like for example with Saeed, I know him quite well, and and I know his story, and so it just makes makes me happy to see him, obviously getting ready to fight, and I want to tell his story. So that's why it's like, you got to come in and jump on the podcast and tell people about your story so that people can, see just not just the fighter, but the man behind the fighter too.
Yeah, that's great. Good on you, mate, for giving boxing a go.
Yeah.
It's a great sport. It's as old as the, well, it's as old as the days of gone by, and boxing's here to stay, mate. And as I said, the promoters all around Australia, we're doing our best now to try and put on a good fight, to get the crowds. Now, there's some promoters up in Queensland doing a great job. They're all doing a good job, You put on a one-sided fight, it soon gets out there. But, mate, I'm hearing you. That's good for you to put these guys on. It gives them more exposure. People get to know them. That's great. It's fantastic for their, for their confidence when they,
Confidence, yeah.
they see themselves on social media on a poster. That's when it starts hitting them off. Geez, I really am fighting. It's coming up. I'm going to do my best to get this on and give a good performance to the crowd that's come along to watch me.
Yeah. I guess just to kind of, end things off, mate, what can a fan expect from a Paul Nasari neutral corner fight night, mate? What can they expect? What kind of vibes? And like I said, even way before we got in chat, mate, I was following you, and I remember saying this, and I mean every word. I remember we had a conversation about promotions, and I said neutral corners is doing everything right because it's landing in front of me. I can see the promotions. I can see it just lands in front of me. And if it's landing in front of someone like me, who only in the last maybe 2-3 years have started to get a hold of all these different promotions and what's going on, keeping in mind I'm going looking for it, but at the same time I feel like I didn't have to go looking. I didn't have to go looking for your promotion. I felt like it came to me, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
that's a credit, man. That's a credit to you. And I'm not just saying that because we're talking right now, but that was almost 2 years ago. I remember that. I was like, I really like what he's doing, and I really do think you're heading in the right direction because I find your promotion ends up, it ends up finding people that are fans as opposed to, jumping on Instagram or Facebook and being like, oh, where are all the fights happening and whatnot. And I mean, it also comes with, I guess, people, are always interconnected and associated. For example, our mutual friend Ricky, obviously put me onto you, and then, following these guys and associating myself with these guys, I see what they're associating themselves with. And before you know it, it's like one large, vacuum of and whatnot. But talk a little bit, I guess, and, just kind of, what can people expect from a Paul Nasari fight night, and just a little bit about the what goes on in the fight night, mate, just in the vibe, because from I haven't been, and I will be coming, and just from the pictures, man, it looks like it looks like a really good vibe from the entrances to everything. So I guess tell the people that are going to be tuning in, watching this and listening, what they can expect from a fight night from yourself.
Okay, let me tell you, Neutral Corner brings you evenly matched fights in both amateur and professional, right from the first bell right to the last bell. You'll be on the edge of your seats. Every fight's evenly matched. Put fighters in the ring with the same ability, and you've got a great match. It's entertainment plus. We're a big team now. Rick, from my boxer ring, Paul Grimer, he puts up the boxer ring. He's there to Rick Powell, my MC, to the doctor, to the car girls, to my team, my family, mainly. You expect fireworks, mate. The evenly matched fights part, that's the one that I emphasise on. They made me the matchmaker for New South Wales amateur boxing about 10 years ago because they could see out of my neutral corner shows I was matching up fights evenly. So they gave me that job, and I did that for quite a few years. Now everyone goes off and match their own shows mainly, and so they should. But that's what you expect. You just expect a great fun night out when you come to a neutral corner show, right from the opening bell to the last. People actually walk out and come up to me and go, great show, Nasari. I'll be back next time. And mate, it's music to your ears when you hear that. It really is. They go, well, I've done a good job. I don't get to watch the fights most of the time because I'm running around too much. But the vibes, that word you brought up, I know they're good fights because I can feel the vibes of the crowd, you know.
Mm.
And when I do go sit down and watch a fight, I get tapped on the shoulder, my phone will ring. I just can't sit down and watch a fight. It's impossible because I'm just too busy making sure everybody's having a good time. The
Good
food's all right,
time. Yeah.
the beer's cold, are you having a good time? You I just worry too much. And when that final bell goes, I think, amen, it's all over. And if people walk out, it is the best part of the night when they're walking out and giving you a thumbs up. Great show. It's great. It's a great feeling.
Well, Paul, I appreciate you giving me your time, mate. I know you've got a lot going on, and obviously preparing for this for the next show of your first show of COVID-19 era at the moment. So I wish you all the best, mate, and it's an absolute honor to talk to you because I've been meaning to get a hold of you for a while, and I appreciate you giving me your time, and I have no doubt in my mind it's only going to keep growing from here, and and I really do hope that you get to really flourish and show what boxing means to you through your platform, with what you're doing with your promotions and whatnot. And I guess part of the show, part of me doing what I'm doing is to kind of give people their roses while they're still here too, and just appreciate that there are people in our culture that are doing things, that are doing amazing great things, and we just need to start taking notice and getting behind them and supporting them, and that's another big part of why I do what I do as well.
Good on you,
Again,
mate.
mate, I appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll sit down, hopefully annually, and see how everything's going, and chat about the fights, and hopefully this time next year, it's even better and bigger.
Yeah, no, thanks, mate. I wasn't hard to get hold of, was I?
Nah, mate, pretty easy, mate, pretty easy.
Sometimes it depends on contact me, you got to keep moving, but no.
That's it.
And Ricky Colosimo, I thought, he must be all right, this guy. But, mate, I appreciate what you're doing for boxing and for boxers. It's good. You're getting it out there too, mate. That's what I love.